Hello, Canada. My name is Jack Fonseca, Political Operations Director with Campaign Life Coalition. During our virtual National March for Life programming, we'll be interviewing both of the pro-life candidates who are officially in the Conservative Party of Canada's leadership race. And I cannot overstate the importance of this race because the next Conservative leader will most likely become your future Prime Minister. I'm pleased to introduce you to one of those leadership candidates, Dr. Leslyn Lewis. Hi, Dr. Lewis. Welcome to the program.
Hi, Jack. Thanks for having me.
You are welcome. Well, listen, let's jump right into it. Dr. Lewis, you own a successful law firm in Toronto, and you have an impressive academic resume with a PhD in law, a master's in environmental studies, an MBA concentration in business in the environment, and other academic credentials that I can't even remember. But to me, the most impressive thing about you is how you have run as an out and proud pro-life candidate and announced several pro-life policies in your election platform dealing with abortion. Could you please run through those policies for the benefit of our viewers?
Sure, Jack. So I just want to start by saying that I believe in the sanctity of life, and that includes preborn life. And life issues have divided Canadians and women for so long. And so I began by finding common ground and advancing policies that I believe the majority of Canadians can get behind. So the first policy that I introduced that I believe helps protect vulnerable women and girls is to ban the misogynistic practice of sex-selective abortion. And the majority of Canadians agree that it is wrong to abort a fetus on the sole purpose that it is a girl. The second policy is to seek measures to protect women from coerced abortion. And the majority of Canadians agree again that a woman should not be coerced into having an abortion. The third policy helps to support pregnancy care centers. And this is to make sure that women in crisis pregnancy situations have the care that they need and that they deserve. And then the fourth policy is just ending Canadian taxpayer funding of overseas foreign abortions.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you, Dr. Lewis. Those are very important incremental pro-life policies that will both save lives and also do another thing in that they'll help us to have the abortion issue in front of Canadians. You know, every single measure that there is that's an incremental pro-life measure like that helps us to talk about pro-life issues and get Canadians thinking about the right to life of preborn children. And some of those are not brand new ideas. The abortion coercion law that you mentioned you'd be bringing forward, that was a Conservative MP, Rod Bernouge, brought forward a similar bill many years ago, and unfortunately it didn't pass. But hopefully as a government bill under Prime Minister Leslyn Lewis, it would. Now, another sanctity of life issue on which this year's National March for Life is focusing is the topic of euthanasia and assisted suicide. So my first question to you, Dr. Lewis, is where do you stand on euthanasia?
Well, Jack, I oppose euthanasia. I feel that it is very important for us to honor the life, especially of our seniors and those that are in palliative care. And they've given so much to our society. And I believe that we should give them back the love and comfort that they need in their last days. They should feel that during their last days, they're not a burden to society. And that's why under my government, I would invest in palliative care centers.
Wonderful, thank you. And now, another related question. Justin Trudeau's Liberal government legalized this form of homicide, euthanasia, in 2016 under the false pretense that it would be restricted only to people who are dying. But less than 4 years later, here we are. The Trudeau government has introduced Bill C-7, which aims to expand the categories of killable people to those who are not even dying, but who merely have some kind of physical suffering that they feel is intolerable, even if that condition is treatable or even if it's curable. Bill C-7 will also expand access to death by lethal injection to those Canadians who are not physically sick whatsoever, but who merely claim that they're experiencing psychological suffering that's intolerable. So my next question to you is, if the Liberals succeed in passing Bill C-7, which is entirely possible given that the NDP, the Bloc and the Green all support euthanasia quite rapidly, would you repeal Bill C-7 if elected Prime Minister, so as to at least claw back Canada's advance towards euthanasia on demand?
Yes, I would. I would repeal Bill C7. And more specifically, I feel that I disapprove of euthanasia being extended to include psychiatric patients and those struggling with mental illness. And I also vehemently oppose euthanasia being expanded to include teenagers that are suffering from mental illness.
I'm glad you mentioned that, Dr. Lewis, the issue of children and access to euthanasia, because although that is not in Bill C7, the Trudeau government has hinted that that's where it is going to take this law eventually. That it will also expand euthanasia to children under the age of 18. And in fact, it commissioned a study on that very question. And when a particular government issues a study on that question, you know that's where it wants to go. So thank you for remembering that and bringing that up. Um, Now, Dr. Lewis, before we close, we have perhaps tens of thousands of Canadians marching for life this week, albeit virtually, and they're watching you right now. Is there anything you'd like to say to them in closing, or some words of encouragement as they're virtually marching for life?
Yes, Jack, I'd just like to share with them one of the reasons why I'm running for office, and that is because I want to change the discourse in our democracy from one that demonizes people who hold different beliefs to a system that it's truly meant to be, a system where we can have healthy debates about issues like life issues, including euthanasia and abortion. I truly believe in the democratic process, and I believe that conscience rights of medical professionals such as doctors should be upheld. I also believe that members of parliament should be able to vote their conscience freely on moral issues. I also believe that we can restore our democracy to a point where it respects people like you and me and respects our right and our belief that life is sacred.
Wonderful. Well, thank you. I'm sure that all our Marchers for Life will appreciate those words. And actually, if I can take just another minute of your time, Dr. Lewis, you mentioned conscience rights, that you would support conscience rights for doctors and healthcare workers. Just for the sake of clarity, are you saying that part of your platform that you would support legislation to protect the rights, the conscience rights of healthcare workers to not have to either refer or participate in either abortion or euthanasia?
Yes, that's correct. I would do that, Jack. That is correct.
Wonderful. We need such a law very desperately in this country. So thank you for that.